What's up, you guys? SlimXTeamSymmetry here to bring you guys a new episode of Slim Psychology, and I'm here to finally do it on a subject everyone's been wanting me to talk about, and that is the usage of one of the most powerful and probably one of the best spell cards in the game right now, if not the best spell card, and that's Mystical Space Typhoon. Now, a lot of people are going to say, why would you ever say Mystical Space Typhoon is the best spell card in the game? The reason being is right now in this current format, I feel that Typhoon has been able to handle and get rid of some of the most problematic cards that pretty much every deck encounters. If you're playing against dragons, which the majority of us are, if you're not playing the deck yourself, or even in the mirror match, Mystical Space Typhoon takes care of so many problematic cards. It takes care of Dragon's Ravine. That's huge. Alone, being able to Typhoon a Dragon's Ravine is great because it takes away the dragon player's ability to pitch dragons to the graveyard and set up their colors to summon their dragons. That alone is enough to say that Typhoon is one of the best spell cards. But it's not only that, it's combating cards like Vanity's Emptiness, especially in the Dragon Mirror. Vanity's Emptiness is usually the go-to card to lock out the opponent once you've summoned your dragons or your Drago Sacks. So being able to Typhoon Emptiness in response to it, or being able to Typhoon another spell or trap on the board to get Emptiness off the field is great. Typhoon being able to do that, being a quick play and being able to chain to things like that is what makes it such a good card. I would say for the Dragon matchup, that's mainly those are the cards you're trying to space. Sometimes you'll get lucky and you'll be able to Mystical Space Typhoon the return before they activate it. I was playing a game today where my opponent was checking their removal. They had no colors engraved and they were checking their removal, and they set one card before ending, and I just happened to have a Typhoon, so I Typhooned it at the end phase, and sure enough, it was the return. So I was able to make that read based on the opponent's actions towards checking their removed pile and realizing they no longer had colors in the grave. So sometimes you can get lucky with things like that. Other things, like in the Dragon match, I've already covered, like you will hit Ravine, you will hit opposing Vanity's Emptiness, and you'll hit cards, like I said, sometimes you'll hit cards like Return. Other times it's just good to get rid of cards like Raigeki Break. Sometimes they'll Raigeki Break blindly, discarding a card, and then they'll hit your Typhoon. You chain your Typhoon, hit another one of their cards, and it really balances out to where they go minus like 3 to your 1. So Typhoon is just really, really good in that matchup. Against other matchups, like if you were to talk about spellbooks, being able to Mystical Space Typhoon the tower, the Grand Spellbook Tower, when they go to activate it, is really important because as long as you Typhoon the tower as a chain link 2 or higher, it misses timing, so they can't special summon. That's huge, especially against books, because that is their best, one of the best cards in their deck for the fact that it keeps them up in tempo, and the momentum shift doesn't really shift towards anyone but them, since they're constantly getting a new card, recycling a spellbook, and getting a new card fresh off the deck. They're drawing 2 cards per turn, so they're really ahead of you most of the time. So being able to Typhoon that is really important. Against spellbooks, I don't really know if there's that many other cards, like unless you can read a set fate as they set it in a Typhoon, but honestly, Typhoon is just good for being able to chain the things they do, especially Tower. So that's for spellbooks. As far as other decks go, Mermails, only one card you really need to hit with this card, and that is Abyss Sphere. Typhoon was great for the fact that when they would activate Sphere, you chain Typhoon, they don't get anything. That's really, really key because it used to be you would have to play the guessing game whether to set your Typhoon or not, and a lot of times you would keep it in hand just in case they would go end phase and then you could go chain it. But if you're going first or whatever and you can set your Typhoons and set up for the Sphere, you're always in good shape. So against that matchup, it's really good. And then I guess against other matches in Yu-Gi-Oh, Typhoon is just good for the fact that getting rid of back row is important. Now, some things that I've come to notice is that people like to do the oh-so-forbidden blind MST. Now, blind MST has been around forever. People still do it. Everyone does it at one time or another. The reasons behind it sometimes are just you don't really know why you're doing it. You sometimes do it out of frustration. Sometimes you do it just to start hitting cards. Sometimes like you kind of feel you're backed against the wall when you're staring down 4 back row. So you start to blindly Typhoon, hoping you'll hit the one-ofs that can really stop you from winning. While that is not the best thing to do in this game by far, sometimes it is a desperation move. And blind MSTing is really bad for the fact that you really don't know what you're going to hit. You're really just kind of gambling with it. And I feel that what most players try to do is they try to make reads. They try to make reads on how the opponent will act when they set a card. Like, if they set one card and then set another card, a lot of people are quick to Typhoon the first one they set for the fact they feel it's something really important. A lot of people like to say that they'll set an important card and they'll set a bluff card. The first card they set is usually the good card, so you Typhoon it. That can be a bad way to go about it, but sometimes it works. You never really know what card the opponent is really trying to hide from you. So when they set 4, it's hard to understand what card to hit. So that's where a lot of people blind Typhoon, and that's really not that good. I feel like the best way you can utilize Typhoon is when you're staring down 4 back row is have your monsters go in and try to bait out the back row. And as the back row is being revealed, being able to Typhoon the last one after so many turns of pass is really important. Also, Typhoon is just good for the fact that when they blind Typhoon you and they hit a Typhoon, you Typhoon their card and they're gone. They've lost 2 to your 1. So again, Typhoon does a lot of great things. I feel that, especially this format, the way that there are so many hate cards, there are cards like Vanity's Emptiness, Imperial Iron Wall, DNA Surgery, Deck Lockdown, you name it. Having Typhoon is just really, really important. Being able to use it at the right time is really important. Being able to shut off, like I said, cards like Vanity's Emptiness and being able to destroy Imperial Iron Wall if you're playing a deck that relies on removal is really, really good. And I feel that in pretty much almost any deck, 3 Typhoon is staple. Maybe not in spellbooks, but in a lot of decks, Typhoon is just one of the most versatile spell cards in the game, if not the best spell card in the game, for the fact that it gets rid of cards that normally like a lot of people just couldn't handle, and the fact that you get 3 is really good. Now, a lot of times, other reasons people really like Typhoon is that if you're running a deck like I am, like Evil Swarm, you worry about cards like Royal Decree and Skill Drain, for the fact that Royal Decree literally just destroys like 1/3 of your deck. You do run a lot of traps in the deck, so when they Royal Decree you, it sucks. Having a Typhoon to handle Decree is really important. More importantly, though, is against Skill Drain, because Skill Drain locks out a lot of, pretty much your entire deck, and that's the thing, is that Typhoon is good against those problematic face-up trap cards that pretty much tell you can't play Yu-Gi-Oh! Cards like Royal Decree, cards like Skill Drain saying you can't activate your effects, Royal Decree saying you can't activate your traps. So having MST at your disposal is really, really good. So that's just, these are all basic things. I'm sure a lot of you guys knew this already, but I just like to go over it every once in a while because a lot of us, including myself, forget why some spell cards are just considered to be the best in the game. And as the formats roll on, I feel Typhoon, if it stays at 3, which I'm pretty sure it will, as long as Heavy Storm is gone, I feel that will remain a staple at 3. If you guys have noticed, every deck this format will either main 2 to 3 Typhoon or at least side deck them, and usually you'll see them in side decks. Like Black Wings usually don't main Typhoon, they side 3, and it's just really good because they are one of the decks that does lose hard to Royal Decree, for the fact that Icarus is being one of their main traps, and if they spring a Decree before you spring an Icarus, it can be a real problem. So Typhoon is just versatile in many, many aspects of the game. Other things I could add on about it is that being able to stop cards like Call of the Haunted, cards that can really just start generating advantage, like playing against Insectors or playing against decks that use Call of the Haunted to bring back monsters, being able to Mystical Space Typhoon them and getting rid of the monsters is great. Other things, decks like to use Safe Zone being one of the cards that Evil Sworn and other decks use. They try to key beetle Safe Zone stuff. The ability to Typhoon a Safe Zone and make them lose their monster in addition is great. That's one thing Typhoon has always been known for, is just getting rid of those problematic cards. And that's just like the whole basis of this video, is just talking about the importance of Mystical Space Typhoon and the reason why it is one of the best spell cards in the game. Now, a lot of people are going to make mistakes when they blind MST. Honestly, what I can say is it should never be a desperation move. You should be able to try and grind through the back row with your monsters. Sometimes you don't have a choice. Sometimes you'll just blindly Typhoon. Sometimes you'll have 2 Typhoons in your hand and you'll hit 2 random back rows and hope you get through the other 2. I feel that while that is a gutsy move and sometimes it does work, I feel that there are better options. I feel the option of being able to summon a monster, try to guide through the back row, like is there a bottomless, okay, that's one of the 4 gone, I have only 3 more to deal with, and then trying each turn to get rid of multiple back row in whichever way is possible is really good. And then being able to Typhoon that final back row is really important. And then being able to just utilize Typhoon, like Typhoon versus Typhoon is great. If they Typhoon your Typhoon, being able to Typhoon their other card is really, really good. And that's why I feel that Mystical Space Typhoon, while being one of the oldest cards in the game, will always be one of the best cards in the game. And I feel that in almost any deck now, you will see Mystical Space Typhoon at 3 for the fact that this format, Dragon's Ravine, Vanity's Emptiness, you name it, is, there's like any card is just really a problem, and Mystical Space Typhoon handles that problem as a good 1-for-1, and Mystical Space Typhoon will always be one of the best 1-for-1s in the game. So yeah, so that's pretty much all I gotta say, you guys. I hope this video was informative. I tried to keep it as simple as possible. There's nothing super complicated about using Mystical Space Typhoon. Granted, blind Typhooning is one of the worst things you can do. It's a desperation move that doesn't really need to be done. There are other ways to get around cards like that. Sometimes, sometimes it's pretty obvious. If there's only 1 back row, you're gonna Typhoon it. If there's 2 back row and you have 2 Typhoons, you're gonna Typhoon them both. Like, whatever you got to do to go for game, people will do it. Being able to Typhoon that last back row and then push for game is just a very good feeling, and that's how Yu-Gi-Oh is played. So that's pretty much all I wanted to cover in this video. So this video was informative for you guys. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If I forgot anything, please comment below if there was something I forgot. I tried to cover just the basis of using Typhoon and just the best ways to go about handling multiple back row, using your monsters to your advantage, using your traps to your advantage, and being able to use Typhoons on the final back row and chaining Typhoon to other effects to shut off other effects, like being able to Typhoon a face down to turn off Vanity's Emptiness, being able to turn off Ravine with Typhoon, turning off Tower with Typhoon. Anything you can do to put yourself in an advantage over the opponent is always great with this card. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Thumbs it up, comment below with your thoughts. Please comment below if there's any other things you'd like me to cover here on Slim Psychology. If you want me to talk about cards like Vanity's Emptiness, cards like Imperial Iron Wall, any card that you feel deserves like some attention, just in a more how to use the card more to your advantage type of thing, and I'll definitely include it here on this series. So anyways, hope you guys enjoyed the video. Thumbs it up, and thank you for watching. And don't forget, Mystical Space Typhoon negates if you're an idiot.